Citizens of the Federation and her allies, it is my honor to introduce the official Starfleet Ships of the Line Museum. This undertaking, made possible by the help of so many of you, is to educate the galaxy at large about the history of some of the greatest ships to serve in Starfleet, and allow you to look at full-size replicas of the ships, lovingly recreated and restored. Please, take your time and peruse this look back at our history. I know that I, myself, have already spent several days staring in wonder at these pieces of the past, preserved and revived for this day. After one standard Earth Day, the exhibit will move to several museums and galleries around the galaxy, but it will be visible once a year above Earth Space Dock and Deep Space Nine on this most important date.
Thank you, Mr. President. Oh, let's see here. NCC 1701.
Space, the final frontier.
Yep. Oh, let's see. The most celebrated starship of her time, the Constitution-class Enterprise, had over 40 years in service to Starfleet, most of that time including her celebrated 5-year mission from 2265 to 2270 was under the command of James T. Kirk. Besides her initial mission goals of seeking out new life and new civilizations, the Enterprise assisted many in need throughout the galaxy and defended the Federation from threats such as Khan Noonien Singh. In her final flight, she was commandeered from Starfleet by her most famous captain and crew before being destroyed over the Genesis planet. Notable crew members: James T. Kirk, Spock, Leonard McCoy, Montgomery Scott, Hikaru Sulu, Nyota Uhura, and Pavel Chekhov. Star Trek aired from 8 September 1966 through 3 June 1969, 79 episodes. Without the original series, most of us would be here. None of us would be here today. The iconic show aired for just 3 seasons in the late 1960s, having been saved from cancellation several times by fan campaign. However, when the show moved to syndication, its popularity exploded, leading to 6 feature films with the original cast. The show has inspired people from all walks of life, including scientists who cite Star Trek as the inspiration for investigations like the cell phone. Or inventions like the cell phone. I don't know why I said investigations. In transmission. Okay.
Let's make sure that history never forgets the name. Enterprise.
The 5th ship to bear both the Enterprise name and her iconic 1701 registry, the Enterprise D is an iconic piece of Federation history led by the principles of Captain Jean-Luc Picard. This legendary vessel ventured into a galaxy much changed since the original NCC 1701 had gone on her 5-year mission. During her time among the stars, The Enterprise D was present a part of many major historical events, including the first encounters with both the Q Continuum and the Borg. Without the dedication of her brave crew, many more lives would likely have been lost in these incidents. Notable crew members: Jean-Luc Picard, William Riker, Beverly Crusher, Worf, Data, Geordi LaForge, Deanna Troi, Wesley Crusher. Let's see. Catherine Pulaski, Tasha Yar. Star Trek The Next Generation aired from 28 September 1987 through 23 May 1994, 176 episodes. If the original series is the point from which all Star Trek originates, The Next Generation was the franchise's first great test. While the movies with the cast of the original series were popular in cinemas, the idea of creating a sequel to the show with all new characters was a bold one. That could have fallen flat on its face. Thankfully, Gene Roddenberry chose an excellent cast and an amazing group of writers to carry on his legacy. Because of the success of TNG, Star Trek lives on. Okay.
We are explorers. We explore our lives, day by day. And we explore the galaxy, trying to expand the boundaries of our knowledge. And that is why I am here. Not to conquer you with weapons or with ideas, but to coexist and learn.
USS Defiant. The Defiant class project was begun in 2366 as a response to the increased Borg threat to the Federation. This tough little ship was Starfleet's first real attempt at a warship. With almost no scientific equipment on board, ultimately she did not pass her trials, and the project was put on hold until Commander Benjamin Sisko, a member of the Defiant team, asked for her to be assigned to Deep Space Nine to hold off the threat of the Dominion from there. She served with distinction in the Dominion War and remained in service until her destruction in 2375. The USS Sao Paulo was assigned to Deep Space Nine and renamed the Defiant in her honor. Notable crew members: Benjamin Sisko, Jadzia Dax, Ezri Dax, Worf, Julian Bashir, Miles O'Brien, Kira Nerys, Nog, Odo, honorary, Quark, honorary, Jake Sisko, honorary. Star Trek Deep Space Nine aired from 3rd January 1993 through 2nd June 1999, 173 episodes. Star Trek Deep Space Nine is one of the most beloved series in Star Trek's history, and with good reason, introducing some of Trek's most memorable characters and a deeper, more nuanced look at Federation society. DS9 told some unforgettable stories. The impact of its serialized style can still be felt today in modern Trek television.
In a region where shifting allegiances are commonplace, we have to have something stable to rely on. And we do. The principles and ideals of the Federation.
The USS Voyager holds the distinction of the starship that explored the most unknown space during the course of her voyage. Although this was not her intended mission, during a mission to secure the Maquis terrorists on board the, I'm going to probably butcher this, the Valjean, the ship encountered a being known as the Caretaker and was thrust 70,000 light years into the Delta Quadrant. For several years, 7 years, for 7 years, under the more than capable command of Catherine Janeway, the crew searched for a way to return to the Alpha Quadrant and their loved ones. Finally succeeding in 2378, the scientific and anthropological data brought back from her voyage was instrumental to the Federation's understanding of the varied species and locales of the Delta Quadrant, knowledge that is still referenced to this day. Notable crew members: Catherine Janeway, Tuvok, Chakotay, Harry Kim, Tom Paris, Seven of Nine, B'Elanna Torres, the Doctor, Neelix Kess. Star Trek Voyager aired from 16 January 1995 to 23 May 2001, 168 episodes. Star Trek Voyager was the first Star Trek television show to star a female Starfleet captain. During its 7-year run, it returned to the original Star Trek model of exploring a completely unknown part of space. The show is also notable for its deeper dive into one of Star Trek's iconic enemies, the Borg, providing new layers and details to that terrifying alien race.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
After destruction of the Enterprise D in 2371, the Sovereign-class vessel was rechristened in her honor and launched as the Enterprise E. The crew of the previous Enterprise was transferred over mostly intact and continued to serve under the command of Jean-Luc Picard. Sleeker and arguably more powerful than her predecessor, the Enterprise E served with distinction in several major Starfleet crises, including the Borg invasion of Earth's past, the conflict with the Sonar, and the battle with the Romulan Shenzon. Notable crew members: Jean-Luc Picard, Will Riker, Beverly Crusher, Worf, Data, Geordi LaForge, Deanna Troi, Star Trek First Contact, Star Trek Insurrection, Star Trek Nemesis. The crew of Star Trek The Next Generation became the second Starfleet crew to receive their own series of movies, beginning with Star Trek Generations in 1994. The Enterprise E is the first ship in Trek to replace her predecessor with a completely new class. The TNG movies are a legacy of the impact Picard and his crew had on pop culture. Okay.
Your father was captain of a starship for 12 minutes. He saved 800 lives, including your mother's. And yours. I dare you to do better.
The ship you're reviewing is a replica of a ship from an alternate universe. During the destruction of Romulus, Ambassador Spock and a Romulan terrorist known as Nero were pulled into a black hole and transferred back in time to 2233. Nero's ship, the Narada, engaged with the USS Kelvin, creating a branching timeline that resulted in many changes from the history we know. Knowledge of this universe, including this alternate version of the historic Enterprise, was gained during the Sphere Builder incident in 2410. Notable crew members: James T. Kirk, Spock, Leonard McCoy, Montgomery Scott, Hikaru Sulu, Nyota Uhura, Pavel Chekhov. 0718. Star Trek 2009, Star Trek Into Darkness, Star Trek Beyond. The Kelvin Timeline films were an alternate retelling of the history of the classic original series in order to retell the story with a modern sensibility. The decision was made to set the films in an alternate time universe, a brilliant decision that allowed new actors, sets, and stories while still connecting to original Star Trek continuity. A young cast took over the classic roles from the original series and played them to perfection.
We'll find a way through this. But I won't leave anyone behind. Not if I can help it. I can't try to save humanity without holding on to what makes me human.
In 2151, before the Federation had ever been formed, the first Starfleet ship to bear the name Enterprise was launched. She was the first ship capable of going Warp 5, a huge leap forward technologically. This experimental new ship was meant to be a test run until an encounter with a Klingon changed everything. Under the command of Jonathan Archer, she served with distinction until 2161, when she was retired with full honors. During her historic voyage in the stars, she was instrumental in protecting humanity from many threats, including the Xindi weapon. Notable crew members: Jonathan Archer, T'Pol, Charles Tucker III, Malcolm Reed, Travis Mayweather, Hoshi Sada, and Phylox. Star Trek Enterprise aired from 26 September 2001 through 13 May 2005, 97 episodes. The last show to carry the Star Trek banner for 12 years, Enterprise told the story of one of the least explored eras in Trek history, the time before the founding of the Federation. This low-tech, character-focused take on Star Trek boldly went into the future of television, refusing to let the torch burn out. It is remembered for its excellent take on classic Trek stories and for its depiction of events that led to the formation of the United Federation of Planets.
The only way to defeat fear is to tell it no. No. We will not take shortcuts on the path to righteousness. No. We will not break the rules that protect us from our basest instincts. No. We will not allow desperation to destroy moral authority.
While her exploits only recently rediscovered after years of the highest classification, the USS Discovery is an important part of Federation history that we are only just learning about. It was discovered that one of her captains, Gabriel Lorca, had been replaced by his counterpart from the Mirror Universe. During the Prior's World incident, after his removal from command, the Discovery was instrumental in ending the First Federation-Klingon War and in stopping the threat of the rogue AI known as Control. The ship then disappeared into the far future, where all of her recorded history has been lost, or rather, hasn't happened yet. Notable crew members: Gabriel Lorca, Saru, Michael Burnham, Paul Stamets, Ellen Landry, Ash Tyler, Hugh Culber, Sylvia Tilly, Arium, Jet Reno, Philippa Georgiou, Christopher Pike, Spock, Naham, Cleveland Booker, Jet Reno, Adria Tall. It's interesting they put Jet Reno twice. Star Trek Discovery began airing 24 September 2017, 55 episodes as of this writing. Star Trek Discovery is the triumphant return of Star Trek to television after 12 long years. The first show to star a character who was not the ship's captain, Discovery set out to begin a bold new era in Trek storytelling with serialized, continuing stories. The show tells the story of the Federation's history, including the First War with the Klingons. And in continuing on today, telling the story of the Federation in the far, far future, with Michael Burnham finally taking her place as the ship's captain.
Wherever our mission takes us, we'll try to have a little fun along the way too, huh? Make a little noise, ruffle a few feathers.
This replica is an example of the design iteration on one of the most famous of starships. While the Enterprise most famous appearance is seen earlier in this museum, this is an example of what the ship looked like in 2257 under the command of Christopher Pike. While James T. Kirk may cast the longest shadow in Starfleet, Pike was a kind and deeply effective captain who led the Enterprise to explore many strange new worlds. It is interesting to see the difference between this vessel and Kirk's Enterprise, and an encouragement to all Starfleet officers to always be thinking of the future and how to improve on past designs. Notable crew members: Christopher Pike, Una, aka Number One, Spock, let's see, Nahan, Joseph Mbaga, Christine Chapel, La'an Noonien Singh, Nyota Uhura, Erica Ortega, and Himmer. Star Trek Strange New Worlds began airing 5 May 2022, 8 episodes in its first season. if I'm not mistaken. I think as of the recording of this, September the 14th, 2025, I think they're at season 3, maybe 4. This is the version of the USS Enterprise that appeared in Star Trek Discovery. While she is the same ship that appeared in the original series, she has been recreated with a modern design sensibility and current graphical technology. This version of the ship is now the ship of the show, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which tells the story of Pike's Enterprise in the first episode of Star Trek show in 21 years. Strange New Worlds has shown both the challenges and successes of the Federation in an earlier era, given depth to some classic characters, and introduced us to exciting new ones.
Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600.
The flagship of Starfleet, the Enterprise F, has served during some of the most tumultuous years in Federation history, from the war with the Klingon Empire to the catastrophic battles of the Iconian War, the conflict with the Tanzekis and the Herc, and the current troubles in the Klingon Empire. It's hard to believe this ship has only been in service for 2 years. In 2409, she launched under the command of Vakal Shan and has been keeping us safe ever since. We at this museum hope that as long as there is a Federation, there will be a ship to bear the name Enterprise. Let's see. Notable crew members: Vakal Shan, Samuel Wintarn, Jurel Cav, Tim Inasi, Savel, Phillips, Matthias, Kiona, Ryoshi O'Brien. Star Trek Online launch to February 2010, 185 episodes as of this writing. We hope you've enjoyed visiting the Star Trek Museum and for helping us celebrate more than 50 years of the Federation, or the franchise. We live in one of the greatest eras of Trek, with more shows, comics, novels, and video games coming every day, and it has been an honor to keep that fire burning in Star Trek Online. Thank you for spending the time with us, and here's to many more years of the final frontier.
Well, the Stargazer was my first command. Not this Stargazer, of course. But being here, it feels like my life has come full circle.
One of the newest ships on display in this museum, this version of the Stargazer was instrumental to an important event in recent Starfleet history. Named for the Stargazer that was Admiral Picard's first command, it is fitting that this ship came once again under Picard's direct command during the Borg crisis of 2401. 3 people led the Stargazer through that crisis: Picard, her captain, Cristobal Rios, and the newly promoted Captain 7 of 9. Thanks to their leadership and compassion, the Borg Queen was allowed to coordinate the Borg and Federation fleets and save millions of lives. While the threat of the Borg did not end entirely that day, it was the first step on a long road to peace. Notable crew members: Jean-Luc Picard, Cristobal Rios, Seven of Nine, Agnes Jurati, Elnor Honorary, and Raffi Muskiner Honorary. Star Trek Picard launched 23 January 2020. 20 episodes as of this writing. Star Trek Picard has ended. I do not see them doing any more. Let's see. Fans rejoiced in 2019 when it was announced that Patrick Stewart would be returning to his beloved character from Star Trek The Next Generation, Jean-Luc Picard, picking up 30 years after the end of TNG movies and 10 years before Star Trek Online. The show follows classic characters like Picard and Seven of Nine and new additions to the canon as well. Picard has been an intellectual show that isn't afraid to dive into traumatic past of its main character, and because of that stands on its own 2 feet as more than just a sequel series. The Stargazer is also notable because Star Trek Online's own Hector Ortiz and Thomas Moroni had a hand in its design, working with legendary starship designers John Eves and Doug Drexler.
Oh, senior officers are overrated. They're always like stressed out and just yelling about directives. It is better down here where the real action is.
The Cerritos is a California-class ship and one that was assigned in the 2380s to Second Contact Protocol, while other ships in the fleet made first contact with new life forms across the galaxy. Ships like the Cerritos were tasked with the no less important duties of bringing these species safely and comfortably into the Federation. Her inclusion amongst the flagships of Starfleet may seem odd, but the Federation is not simply made by the heroic people whose names you've heard in your textbooks. Every officer in Starfleet plays a vital role in their success, and the Cerritos here is an example of that. Notable crew members: Brad Boimler, Beckett Mariner, Ivana Tendi, Sam Rutherford, Carol Freeman, Jack Ransom, Tayana, Shax, Andy Billups, and Badgie. Star Trek Lower Decks premiered 6 August 2020, 20 episodes as of this writing. Star Trek Lower Decks, the first animated Star Trek show in 46 years and the first ever pure comedy Star Trek series, has been embraced by fans for its loving send-up of the Trek we know and love. A show that wears its Trek heart on its sleeve, Lower Decks provides a combination of deeply, nearly nerdy references, hilarious comedy, and heartfelt storytelling. proving it belongs among the canon of more serious Star Trek.